Hi, welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Another exciting show and definitely another exciting guest. Today on the show, we have Andrea L. Whalen on the show. Let me tell you where we're about to go with this episode right now. Imagine yourself 3 bestsellers in a 3-year period. That means a book every single quarter or every year. I'm not an author yet. And then on top of that, understanding your purpose through all of the trials and tribulations that she went through. So that's welcome to the show, Andrea L. Whalen to the show. What's up, baby girl?
Hi, thank you for having me.
Now, what did we talk about before we started? You're not in the aerobic studio or the yoga studio. We got to bring that beast voice to the set today. Who exactly is Andrea before we get started? Who is Andrea?
I'm Andrea L. Whalen. I own Gangamoon Yoga and Reiki School in Beamsville, Ontario. I am the author of 3 books published in 3 years that graciously won two bestsellers and 3 book awards.
Man, now you're located in Canada because you don't pronounce your name the way we do in America. I say Andrea, you call it what?
Andrea.
Okay. So 3 books in 3 years, bestseller. But what was your life like before becoming a well-known author?
It's been a little bit of hell, and I've been able to transform the darkness of my life through the gift that I was given from the age of 7. I have been able to write and channel poetry and words that were far beyond my capacity to understand what they actually meant, like long words for a grade 7 girl. And I used this tool through all of the darkness. And by darkness, I mean the things that happen to you that you don't expect, that you have no choice but to handle. And
What do you mean when you say no choice things? What do you mean when you say no choice?
Well, take my first book, for example. No matter how dark the stain, poems and inspiration for the woman in pain. So the beginning of this book has a chunk of poems called Innocence. And those are the poems, just about life or children dreaming on the beach, going on vacation, friendships, things like that. The second section of the book is called That's the Thing About the Heart, It Breaks. And those are the times in life that's, as a woman, there is rape, there is sexual assault, there are miscarriages, there are relationships that tear your heart out. There are sometimes you're so broken you feel like you don't want to go on anymore. There is a victim mentality that we've seen on TV and portrayed, and that's a reality in these moments. The last chunk of the book of poetry that I put out is called Rise of the Goddess. And that's the part where I learned to transform, like alchemy, the darknesses of my life into absolute love. And so who I was before was experiencing a lot of dark things in life. At one point, I was left for dead on a curb. And I didn't think that there was any point to me being alive. So I tried to saw my wrist with a steak knife.
Why was you left? Hold on a minute. Why were you left on the side of the road, left for dead, and how old were you?
Well, it was my second year of university. And, some of the soccer players that, were my friends the year before, thought maybe it'd be a good idea to put some Rohypnol in my drink and take me back to wherever and do whatever with my body. And by the time I have some flashbacks that are pretty horrid still, that I've had the words to work through. But when they were finished with me, they just pushed me out of the car on the busy street because I was probably dead weight with that drug. And yeah, that was it. Just left for dead. Basically,
Okay,
I could have been run over.
back up a minute. Let's back up a minute and let's go a little bit deeper here. Was that your first sexual encounter, assault, basically, growing up before you wrote, before you start transforming? Was this your first encounter with something like that?
Prior to that, there were just things like taking advantage. Like there was one time I was pinned in a garage and people were playing like with wooden spoons and stuff on my chest and making fun of me. That one really stood out.
Why did that
Yeah,
stand out?
well, one, because I was helpless. Two, I was being humiliated. Three, it was in a sexual manner in a way that I was so fearful and scared that I didn't know what was going to happen next. And there
Did
was
you know the
really not.
people that was doing it?
Um, I knew of the crowd that I thought it was a safe place to go. Could I have predicted I would be going there and end up in that scenario? For the life of me, no. It's quite
How,
bizarre.
how old were you around this time?
That's early teens. Early teens.
So this is two indications, and they appear to be brought on by people that you thought were your so-called friends that are doing this,
Mm-hmm.
perpetrating on you. So when you started at 10 years old, what even put you in that situation to be around these people? Because usually when
Mm-hmm.
you're in school and you're in your teen, you recognize who you don't want to be with. You know the troublemaker. So were you trying to fit in? Were you considered
Mm-hmm.
blackballed that, you decided to take the risk? How did you wind up being in that situation? Because those kind of people always show their hand ahead of time. Does that make any sense?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, because they weren't at my high school. So that's interesting you say that. Yeah, I think for me, I've always been a seeker. I've always been chasing love. I've always been hurt where I was and always trying to get away from that, but really walking into some sad places.
Where was your mom and dad? Were you close to your mom and dad and your siblings?
Yeah, I mean, growing up in the 70s. So things are a little bit different.
What do you mean?
Things are a little bit different. Um, yeah, like parents worked and kids were kind of on their own at that time. We didn't have, I mean, one of my saving graces as a child, excuse me, is watching the Oprah show and, having some people on there that believed in miracles, that believed in things that I also felt in my bones. Marianne
Mhm.
Williamson was one of her guests, and that lifted me up. Yeah, watching things like that. But there was really no understanding of situations, feelings. There was just kind of culturally, if you were raped or sexually assaulted, you were just kind of a victim. There wasn't much research you could do on how to grow from that. So I felt like in order to heal myself, I would have to go to the mountaintops of Tibet to find peace in my life.
Did you share this with
So
your father, your mom? What had happened the first encounter when you was with the teenagers
nobody,
that you thought were your friends? Did you share that with your parents?
nobody, nobody. I wrote through it, which is why I, exactly why, in 2020, when the world shut down, Do you know how much the domestic violence phone calls went into the police stations? The increase?
Yeah, I heard about it.
60%. 60%. And I thought, perfect. I have written through all of these things. That's a perfect time for this book of poetry to go out to other people to help them. That was
Go
the
back
impetus
again.
for book number one.
Go back again. Let's stay on. Let's stay on track with this. Let's go back. This is some crucial information that people need to understand. So in the 70s era, there was no outlet for you to explain what happened. So you're still going to, are you, I'm trying to figure out how I want to say this. Because you were a seeker and seeking attention of love and so forth, how long did these crazy encounters continue to happen to you before going off to college?
Sorry, just to correct, seeker meaning not seeking out these encounters. My seeking was more of an existential seeking because I was channeling words that were beyond my years. So from being born in Zen, it's called a bodhicitta. It's born with a knowingness, a strong intuition. So that's the part I was seeking, not seeking out, like, to have these experiences, but
Give us an example of that, because I'm not even clear on what that actually means, especially at that particular age. So give me more, educate us a little bit more on what you're saying when you saying seeking words or whatever, because I'm not even understanding it. I'm sorry, I really don't, but I want to understand it. So explain that a
yeah.
little bit
So
more deeper.
I mean, in simple terms, it's a connection to the divine that is known through certain aspects. For me, it was a channeling of the words at a really young age.
Give me
And
an
when
example of a word. Give me an example of a word that'll help me and the
covetous,
listeners understand.
one that stood out to me was covetous, like words like that for a 7-year-old to be writing. Yeah, you just look at you look at the word that's out and you're like, but I didn't learn this in school. They don't, like, it didn't match up. So I knew there was something different happening. So I just kept going with that.
So give me an example of other words at your age that you were. I'm sorry. I'm really just trying to get some clarity on this.
Mm-hmm.
Why were you looking for these words? Where did these words come
I,
from, and what were you expecting to get from it? Especially if you're at the age that you're saying you are, those peers are not going to understand or even gravitate what you're trying to accomplish when you yourself don't understand why you are in this position and you're unable to share the experience with your own household. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. Yeah. It was a divine gift. It was a divine gift for me. But yes, it does all of those things. It isolates you. It makes other people less understanding. And so when negative things happen, like that day when I was pinned down and the people were doing that to my chest, it makes that feel like that's what's supposed to happen. So to tell other people you don't, you just riddle yourself with guilt and with shame and with fear, and for other people to say, yeah, well, what do you expect? Or like, it's a whole little thing that happens.
Okay, so my next question is, as you got older and start to go to college, did these same things become clear for you, or did the same cycles continuously happen as you trying to seek this connection, that this gift?
So I was cultivating the gift. What I realized was when I would write, I was able to take like painful experiences, but with the writing, I would make the ending was always beautiful. There was always a silver lining, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. So I always that felt more real to me than everyday life things. So when I went to university and college, and I did think the world owed me something, for enduring what I endured when I was little, or so I thought in my head, right? Again, this is without computers. This is without understanding your parents' lives and things like that. But here's what I started to notice. And at some point, like people have to start to notice this for their own life. And I started to notice the patterns. So yes, when I was little, there was some sexual things that were inappropriate that I just carried in. And then in university, it got a little bit worse. And then it happened again with a sexual assault. And at that point, you recognize that there is a pattern. There is a pattern happening, obviously. And the common denominator, and through my studies and things I was learning, getting my psych degree, I was studying existential psych at the time, but also studying some spiritual, I signed myself in for spiritual retreats at a Mount Carmel Spiritual Center, and I was learning things. And then I lost my train of thought with that. I'm sorry.
Let's go back to the question. You said you noticed a pattern.
Yes, that's
and
it.
The pattern started.
Yes.
So there was multiple encounters that you was having that we probably didn't even cover because it has to be painful. But what I'm don't understand is are trying to understand. Let me go like this. Why were you putting yourself in those situations once that's how I see it, because it went on even when you was in college. I mean, what were you doing that you was putting yourself in these situations?
Yeah, so I started to recognize the patterns, which was like a mirror for me to look at myself. So that's when I checked into anger management, because I wanted to see, where is this coming from? Like, what am I doing? I didn't like seeing the responses on people's faces when they were talking to me. And I really wanted to change it, because what I felt like I was seeing happening, I saw the pattern, I wanted it to stop. So I got help for that. In the anger management classes at the university, that's when it starts to see like the roots of the problem. How can you change it? What was most noticeable for me was when people would look at me when I was in that state of expecting something from them, or that they owed me something. It wasn't the facial expressions I wanted to see on people. Nobody looked happy looking at me. People looked angry at me. And that just, from that turning point, that just totally shifted my life. I'll be honest with you, right there in university, that was a huge shift for me, like by the grace of God. Yeah.
When you say people looked at you and was mad at you, what were they mad about? I mean, were you close to them? Were they mad because because you shared information with them that they didn't feel that they can relate to? I mean, why were they mad at you?
My behavior was wrong. I had an attitude that the world owed me something, because I'd been through some difficult things.
Give me an idea of a behavior pattern that you was demonstrating. That you was displaying. Give me an example.
One just popped in my head. So when I put it all together about being left on the curb, I knew exactly who it was that did that to me that night. So there was a point in the bar, and I'm not proud of it, but there was screaming, and I do think I lunged on the guy on the dance floor, because then I was kicked out of the bar. Those are the moments that I'll never go back to.
Okay, say that again now.
Talk about
back up. Okay, I'm trying to put myself in your shoes and not judge. I'm trying to get clarity on your behavior, on how all of this stuff panned out, why people don't like you because you thought that they owed you something. You're at a bar. Now we're getting a little bit more. So you're at the soccer. These are people that was on the soccer team that you knew. Several guys. I take it, right?
Mm-hmm.
and you're dancing at a bar. Is you dancing inappropriate? Is your
I
behavior
was no, there's
unladylike?
no. So this is from the incident with the rohypnol in my drink. So this is after I had survived
So they put the drink
that
in.
night.
They doped
This
you up.
is
So let me ask you a question. Not to cut you off. Let me ask you a question. I'm trying to get clarity on this so we can keep the viewers on track here, which with all
okay.
three of your books and how they came to be. What did they know about you and your demeanor
Uh,
before
they
putting
knew
this in your drink? What did they know about you in general?
they knew that I worked hard, that I was focused on my studies, that I didn't go out, I didn't date anyone, I didn't have boyfriends, and that I had a lot of published poetry. So I would, like in the local papers and things, and I'd won a lot of poetry awards back then. So that was kind of a laughing point. Probably they knew I was insecure about myself still.
It still didn't give them the right to do what they did. Let's move forward.
No,
Did you
no,
did you talk
there is
to
no right.
did you talk to the authorities?
Yes, I talked to not the police. Like, so yeah, Rohypnol is a different bag of worms. It's really trendy. And I have a beautiful story. There's actually a poem in the book called Rohypnol. So it wasn't going to be published because of that. And I said, "Oh, no. We have been quiet about this way too long. You're calling it Rohypnol or like and that's that." So and then there is a beautiful story of another young girl standing at a book signing. Just quickly, she stood at the book signing holding my book, just like this, a pretty little blonde, and she said, "I didn't think there was words to explain what happened to me," and I was like, "Mm-hmm. That's healing in an instant. You can heal in an instant." It was so beautiful.
What do you mean she didn't think nothing like that can happen? So she had the same experience that you had?
Mm-hmm. But the words, right? So it's the words that heal us. We need to have words for these things that happen to us. And it's called mimesis in Greek. It's when the poet is writing at one point in life and the
Mhm.
reader is reading it at another point in life, both people are transformed.
So
And
what are
that
both
her
people? The victim and the
yeah.
perpetrator? The victim and the perpetrator?
No, the person reading the poem. So that girl who stood in line at that book signing, who read that
Mhm.
poem, she
Yeah.
was healed by my words. See, there you cannot be happy and sad at the same time. I'm sure you know this. And it's the
Yeah.
same is when there is light, there can be no dark. But we haven't had words for these things. But they're so important. They're so important.
How do you transform? I'm trying to think of how to say this correctly,
Yeah,
politically correct. How do you
I
didn't
feel
go
you.
to the authorities on this. You didn't tell nobody about the other incidents that happened to you. You now shift your power into writing the outcome, but then the situation, but the outcome is like you just took a pen and paper and says, okay, I'm just going to release you from all of this. It happened to me. What was the end in your perspective from using your pen in your book? What was the purpose of it happening? Because when you said it happened, when it was happening before, there was a purpose. There seemed to be a reason for these things happening to you. So if you felt like that there's a reason these things happen to you, then you also have the conclusions as why it happened to you.
Absolutely. There's no question in my mind that the experiences that I've been through in my life are my gifts. And that is what I have to offer to other people. That girl standing there in line in the bookstore, holding my book, saying that that Rohypnol poem changed her life and gave her words for an experience that she wasn't processed. That means if she didn't read it or have the words for her experience, she would still be angry, bitter, unhealed. And then that's the vibration going out in the world. But it doesn't have to be like that anymore. We've been quiet about these things for too long. When it's
Isn't
on
that
paper,
giving isn't that giving people the green light to continue to do what they do, knowing that you're just gonna individuals just gonna take down a pen and paper and write their emotions down on the book and say, "Oh, it's all forgiven, it's all good."
so here's the thing. If you're not taking control of what's happening inside your body and in your mind, who is?
Yeah, that's true.
Then who is? So you're paying a price regardless. And your mind, my mind, that created that horror story of that night, which I wrote about all the time, is the same mind that can also create a love story about it. And at some point in your life, when the patterns stack up, you have to look at yourself. It's self-inquiry. It's a whole practice. You have to go within and then decide for yourself. These things happened to me. I had no control. The rest of my life, from here on, I can create. I'm controlling the rest. I'm in charge.
But wouldn't you say that? I get that. I'm not knocking that, and I'm not challenging that. I completely agree. But there's also a flip side of this coin. You have to be aware of your surroundings and putting yourself in situations as well that cause the ripple effect. Had you not been in these situations or been there or had that self-esteem that you was dealing with, none of those, and that's hypothetical. Who could say I'm right or wrong?
Who knows?
It may not have ever happened, and then your projective would have been totally different. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Sure. That's not what happened for me, though.
Right.
So I'm
I like how you did that. I'm just trying to make sure that they understand that there's always a different scenario. But out of that whole scenario, you decided to say, "This happened to me. I put myself in that situation. How do I get out of it? Change my mindset, change the environment. You see the patterns happening. Let's move to the second book. The first book touched a young lady. Now a second book, bestseller, come out. And I encourage you guys to read the first book. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the second book. So how did the second book come about?
Yeah, it's so interesting because part of how I healed, Dr. Phil says for every I hate you, you need to hear 10 I love yous. Okay, so once I had that pivotal moment where I learned that I could actually control what's happening and that I really didn't want to see anyone who looks at me with those faces of anger, I didn't want to be the cause of suffering in the world anymore. I was done with it. That's when I started to study Feng Shui. I was at the Learning Annex in Toronto, metaphysics with Marianne Williamson. I joined the Canadian Theosophical Society. I studied Qigong and walked on hot coals, yoga, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in Brazil. Meditation, NLP training, all the things. That's what I started to do to heal my life. The yogic path is impeccable for me. It gave me a crux. It gave me ethics to walk forward. It gave me self-observances. What am I doing? How do I contribute? Being mindful of those. And it also gave me an eightfold path that I could follow. The yamas, the niyamas, yoga postures, things like that I could follow. So my second book is Deeper Days. And it's 365 yoga inspirations for inner calm amidst chaos. This is for anybody. So during COVID, my yoga studio shut down.
Right.
But Dre, I have this beautiful event I did on the summer solstice for 12 years. And the entire beach around Lake Ontario, because I'm on the Great Lakes, was full of yogis. And I wrote to them every day. And I did this daily practice. And this book is really about staying connected from your head to your heart each day. Yeah. De-stress over
I like
distress.
yoga.
Yeah.
I love yoga. I remember the first time I took yoga, I went back to school at Lorraine Community College, and one of the
Yes, so cute.
um, classes I had to take was for that semester. One of them was yoga, and I was like, I'm not taking that shit, you know. And it was the universe put you in situations, and I'm like almost 200 pounds. I'm thinking, how am I gonna, muscles? How am I gonna move?
Mm,
But it wasn't even about the matter of muscle mass. It was
yeah.
about it was more energy. And I remember really mastering my first yoga class. I remember falling
Yeah.
asleep with the thing where they lay you down. They say, put your hands down and just relax. Dude, I was asleep.
Shavasana. Yeah. If I hear a
Yeah.
snore in Shavasana, I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
winning.
I was, yeah.
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah.
and I guess what I'm
So
trying to
sweet.
say with this is I was closed minded for a moment. Let me call it what it is. I
Mhm.
was closed minded. And when I took it, it was one of the best experiences that I ever had. And it actually
Wow.
helped to strengthen my internal well being as well as my focus. I thought I was focused, it
Wow.
took it to a different level. So my hats off
So,
to you for doing it. And I like your story.
oh,
And people need to understand how we went from a gift of unknowing at a young age of
mhm.
what the gift is to pain, to suffering, to putting yourself in situations to be, I'm not even say
Mhm.
validated, I guess trying to figure out what's all going on with you. And then to write that book, to touch someone else, then to come up with yoga. Tell me about the third book.
Yeah. So this one's really easy. It's just a daily practice. You remember the bottom mantra throughout the day, and it keeps you connected from your head to your heart. So when you have your morning coffee, you add the meaning to your day. And then you have a little daily practice that you can come back to because your mind wanders, and it strengthens focus, awareness, and concentration. And that's what yoga is, bringing the mind and body together. So it's so amazing. This became #1 in yoga, #3 in mental health, and it's won a few book awards. So I'm so proud of that. Book #3 is Stillness in the Storm, a conscious daily journal of yoga and spiritual healing. Trust yourself, love yourself, keep it simple. I couldn't not put this one out because it leaves space for people to write. And I know people don't love to write. So there's pictures, there's I am the light of the world. There's some little things on the blank pages. But also, it's 8 yoga classes, just as if I'm teaching in my studio. All the words
Right.
are here. So you could have this book and you can have yoga at your house. It doesn't have to be in a studio. If we get shut down again, yoga can really heal your life. It's for everybody. And so that was really important. There's
How
a
were you
force that
able
happens. Yeah.
how were you able to incorporate everything that you went through, the
Mm.
spiritual and everything into 3 bestsellers?
Um, Yeah, I followed my heart and I listened to that. I kept chasing that bodhicitta, that sense inside me. There's an inner wisdom and an inner intelligence, and it's inside all of us. There is a destiny inside all of us. Acorn cannot turn into a mango tree, but there's a destiny inside all of us, and it doesn't matter what happened to you. It's always there. The one thing I learned the most is that the dark parts of your life and the light parts are both love. And I want everyone to know that they have all they need inside them right now to live the greatest, best life they can. There is destiny inside us all. And that's the world I want to live in, where everyone
And
is coming from their own destiny. That's what I've done. That's what I've followed. There was rape, sexual assault, but I still had 7 miscarriages. I still buried my son. It doesn't end. But love is stronger.
I want to thank you so much for taking time out to really come on and share such a great story. I'm sorry if I was uneducated on a lot of the stuff that you were talking about. but I'm glad you brought clarity to it and made me a little bit more understanding of what's going on. Before we wrap up, you mentioned something that was really crucial. I think the people need to understand. You mentioned the word dark and love in the same text. Express
Yeah.
that a little bit more for people. I'm gonna tell you what I think about it. You can tell me if I'm wrong or not, or if I'm close to what you're trying to say. In order to understand the gift of love, you must first understand the power of darkness and how darkness can minimize the ability to grow both mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. But I think when you're able to conquer those things with the power of love, it will soon diminish the demons and allow you to forgive and move forward in strengthening your own inner self. Am I close, or do you have another taking on it? Because you, the one that wrote Dark and Love.
Mm-hmm. The biggest illusion is that they're separate. The darkness and the light are both love. It's
Right.
one thing. There's so much gifts in the dark parts of your life, and there's it's how much you cultivate and water those seeds of darkness within you is how bright you shine in the world. And that's for all of us. We're all made the same way. You only see the moon at night. Why do you see the moon? Because of the sun. They're in relation. The dark parts of your life and the light are in relation. You are not what happened to you. You are what you do with it. That's what I've done with my life. And anyone can do this. I'm not special. I'm not different. We are interconnected. We are one. There's greatness within you.
If you had to give three things to help people start this enlightenment journey that you've mastered within yourself, what would those three things be to get people to get people more aware of what they're going through and how to change the mindset that they may be dealing with? Because everybody's not going to read a book, but there are certain things that people can do to start that path journey. What would those three things be?
Yeah. Write down all of the negative things that you keep hearing in your head onto a piece of paper or toilet paper. Get it out of your head, write it down. Once it's out, it can't hurt you anymore. Take that list of all the negative qualities that you have about yourself and write a second list beside it of the positive ones. And you'll be able to see that they can't hurt you. Your mind is on your side. Make a love story out of all of the negative things that have happened to you in your life. There's already inner intelligence. You already have the seeds. There's nothing else you need to do. Just sit quiet, sit in stillness. And your life force is already flowing inside of you right now.
That sounds so beautiful. How can the viewers reach out to you to get your book and to know more about your journey and all the beautiful things that you have going on that's going to help empower people, change their mindset, and more importantly, keep them in that beast frame of mind?
Yes, beast mode. Don't give up on anything. Just keep going. Listen to that voice. Find me at Andrea L. Whalen. The last name's tricky. Wehlann. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram at Andrea L. Whalen. Also at Gangamoon Yoga, my yoga studio. Gangamoon Yoga on Facebook, Instagram. Andrea L. Whalen is on Amazon. Books are at Barnes & Noble. Chapters Indigo for those Canadian peeps. Amazon, of course, has all of the books. I have some journals on there as well. Book number 4, The Soul Awakening Method, is coming, along with more poetry books. Andre, I'm so grateful for what you do and what you're putting out into the world, because it really feeds my dream of a world where we're all shining from our greatness. So thank you so much.
No, thank you for allowing yourself time to come on this show, because I know you got tons of people at the studio waiting for you to get back in class and teach. And more importantly, we got to give shots out to a mutual friend.
Yeah,
Dan.
we do.
Yeah,
Dan.
he's your neighbor. He's your neighbor, huh?
I'm going to roll up on you soon, Dan, and see you soon.
Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you subscribe, click, follow. Make sure you get at least one of those books. I think if you get all three, they're all going to serve a bigger purpose. But the ideal is to realize that we're not walking alone. We've all went through something. We're all trying to keep that beast mindset. But more importantly, we're all trying to find our purpose. Before we leave, I got to ask her this question. Out of all of the stuff that you've gone through, 3 bestsellers, yoga studio, the whole 9 yards, you turned your pain into a beautiful dream. You wrote your own story. What's your purpose?
Love.
Boom. You heard it, ladies and gentlemen. The power of love. This has been another, and I do mean another, exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton Show. Show.